3 weeks after I reported the fault, I was standing in my kitchen at 2 in the morning doing sums on the back of an envelope, trying to work out which bill I could not pay. I need you to understand something before I tell you the rest of this. The settlement figure, the counter lawsuit, the moment in that solicitor's office when everything shifted, I will get to all of it. But I need you to understand what financial ruin actually feels like from the inside, because that is the part nobody talks about, and that is the part that almost broke me before the fight even started. My name does not matter. What matters is that I spent 14 years on the production floor of a manufacturing facility in the West Midlands. Hydraulic press operation, 14 years of early shifts, of grease and hot metal, and the particular low vibration in your chest that you stop noticing after the first 6 months and only remember when it stops. I knew every sound that floor made. I knew the difference between normal and not normal before any diagnostic system could tell you. I noticed the fault on the 14th of August, 2022. The press on line 3 had developed an inconsistency in its guard activation sequence. The safety guard was closing a fraction late. Not every cycle, not even most cycles. But I'd watched that machine for 11 years, and I knew what I was hearing. The gap between the guard closing and the ram completing its downstroke had shortened. If someone's hand was at the wrong place at the wrong time, the guard would not save them. I reported it verbally to my line supervisor, a man called Gary, on the 14th of August. Gary told me he would log it. I asked him to confirm in writing. He said I was worrying too much. I submitted a written report through the internal safety system on the 15th. I have a printed copy of that report, time-stamped at 7:43, sitting in a folder on my kitchen table right now. The machine was not taken offline. It ran for another 11 days. On the 26th of August, a colleague called Marcus caught 2 fingers in the guard mechanism. He lost partial use of his right index finger. He was 23 years old and had been on that line for 4 months. I want to stop here because I know what you are thinking. I know you are thinking that must have been the moment everything changed. The moment the company took action, acknowledged the fault, thanked the person who had flagged it. That is how it should have gone. That is not how it went. 2 weeks after Marcus's injury, on the 12th of September, I was called into an office and told that a review of my recent performance had identified concerns about my attitude and my relationship with my line management team. I was handed a letter initiating a formal performance improvement process. Gary was in that meeting. He did not look at me once. The performance improvement process ran for 6 weeks. At the end of it, on the 24th of October 2022, I was dismissed for failure to meet the required standard of performance and conduct. 14 years. I was 41 years old, no job, a mortgage of £712 a month, a wife called Sandra, 2 kids aged 9 and 13, and savings that would last us approximately 4 months if we were careful. I remember driving home that afternoon in October and the sky being completely grey and flat in every direction and thinking, what have I done? Not what have they done? What have I done? That is what shame does to you, even when you have done nothing wrong. It turns their actions into your failure. Sandra was in the kitchen when I got home. The kids were at school. She took one look at me and she said nothing for about 30 seconds, and then she said, "We will figure it out." I did not believe her. I wanted to. I contacted ACAS the following morning. They advised me on the early conciliation process and my rights under the Employment Rights Act 1996. I instructed a solicitor named Priya 10 days later on the 4th of November. She had 17 years of employment law experience, and she did something in our first meeting that I did not expect. She asked me to walk her through exactly what I'd heard on that machine before the 14th of August. Not the report, the sound. She wanted to understand what I knew and when I knew it. She said, the timeline is everything. She was right, but we did not know yet just how right she was going to be. This is where the story changes. In December 2022, during the disclosure process for our employment tribunal claim, Priya received the company's internal maintenance records for line 3. Standard disclosure, routine documents, Except they were not routine at all, because buried in those records, on page 31 of a 44-page maintenance log, was an entry dated the 3rd of August 2022, 11 days before I submitted my written report. A contracted maintenance engineer had flagged the same guard timing issue during a scheduled inspection. He had classified it as a Category 2 fault requiring attention within 30 days. The entry had been signed off by the site facilities manager, a man called David. David had not escalated it. He had not taken the machine offline. He had noted it and moved on. The company had known before I reported it. They had known for 11 days before I put it in writing. They had known for 22 days before Marcus lost part of his finger. And when I submitted my formal report on the 15th of August, someone in that building had looked at my report, looked at the maintenance log entry from the 3rd, and made a calculation. The calculation was not about safety. It was about liability. I want to give David something here because I have thought about him more than I expected to. David was not a villain in the way you picture villains. He was a facilities manager in a building where every budget was squeezed and every decision had a cost attached to it, and the machine was still running and nothing had happened yet. He saw a Category 2 fault, and he made the decision that gets made in buildings like that every single day, which is the decision to wait and see. He made the wrong decision, but I understand the pressure that produces it. That understanding does not excuse it. It just makes it human. The reason I am telling you this is because the maintenance log entry changed everything about our case. Priya filed the Employment Tribunal claim on the 16th of January 2023. Automatic unfair dismissal under Section 103A of the Employment Rights Act, whistleblower detriment under the Public Interest Disclosure Act 1998. She also simultaneously filed a formal report with the Health and Safety Executive detailing the pre-existing knowledge of the fault, the timeline of Marcus's injury, and the dismissal of the employee who had raised the alarm. The HSE opened an investigation in February 2023. That investigation changed the company's posture entirely. Up to that point, they had been treating our tribunal claim as a nuisance, something to be managed and minimized. The moment the HSE became involved, we started receiving correspondence from a different level of the company's legal team. In April 2023, the company made an offer of settlement, £22,000. Priya and I discussed it for 40 minutes and declined. They came back in June with 38,000. We declined again. In August, with the tribunal hearing listed for October and the HSE investigation ongoing, they offered £83,000, full written acknowledgement that my dismissal had been connected to my protected disclosure, and a commitment to fund an independent safety audit of the facility. We accepted. £83,000 sounds like a lot. In one sense it was. In another sense, by August 2023, we had remortgaged the house. Sandra had taken a second job. Our eldest had stopped asking for things she needed for school because she had figured out what was happening. And I'd spent 9 months in a state of low-level dread that I do not have good words for. You know that feeling where you wake up at 3 in the morning and for just a moment, maybe 2 seconds, you have forgotten the thing that is wrong, and then you remember. I woke up like that every morning for 9 months. The money helped. It did not fix what 9 months had done. I still work in manufacturing, different company, different floor, different machines. I do the same check I have always done, that slow walk along the line at the start of every shift, listening for what should not be there. Old habit, the kind you do not lose. Marcus settled his personal injury claim separately. I do not know the figure. We've spoken twice since the incident. He's working again, different role, partial function in the finger, doing okay. He told me he had not known about my report until Priya's disclosure process. He said he did not know what to do with that information. I did not know what to tell him. Here is the question I want to leave you with, and I'm asking it genuinely because I've not found a satisfying answer. The maintenance engineer who logged the fault on the 3rd of August, The contracted engineer who classified it correctly and filed the right paperwork and did everything he was supposed to do, he was never identified in any of the proceedings. His report was in the disclosure documents. His signature was on the log. Nobody followed up with him. Nobody asked him what happened after he filed that entry, whether he knew it had not been actioned, whether he had chased it, whether he had said anything to anyone. Somewhere, there is a person who did the right thing first, before me. And no one has ever asked him what it felt like when the machine kept running. I think about that more than I think about the £83,000. What would you have done if you were him?